even after 100 years of being in this gig, I don't need any more stories. I agree, we should have tested for some transmissible element. We did, it isn't there, finished. I don't need any more stories. Does everybody have that crystal clear? Nobody's going to say that to me. And you know that if somebody uses that as the reason that it must be a virus, they don't know squat. Got it? Okay. Next step. Now, here is where it gets interesting, because obviously we have to go to a lab. That's what virologists do. Now, here I'm going to make a statement, which I hope, maybe, that you say to yourself when you hear it, are you kidding me? This cannot be true. The statement is, since the electron microscope was discovered, invented in the 30s, which is the only way, right? The only way you can see a virus. There is no other way. There's different techniques of electron microscopy, but that's the only way. And we're going to get into later about how electron microscopy itself is unreliable. But let's forget about that for a minute. Electron microscopy is the way you see a virus. There is not one reported case in 90 years in any medical journal, in any article ever published, of a particle that would be described as a virus being found in any fluid of any sick animal or human being. Did you get that? In other words, you can take, so let's get into some definitions. A virus is a thing, right? It's not, and when I say it's a thing, I mean it's not a feeling or a thought or I have an idea or it's a bad omen or something like that. The conception of it in conventional science and medicine is that it is an actual particle. It has a protein coat and it has a piece of genetic material, either DNA or RNA inside. It is a thing that you can visualize on an electron microscope picture. That thing should be uniform in size and in configuration, i.e. morphology. In other words, it should look the same. It should not be sometimes 2 feet wide and sometimes 6 inches wide. It should not look vastly different. It should be a absolutely uniform, consistent size and shape, and it should have the same genetic material from one virus to the next. Got it? That's what we call a virus. There are maybe hundreds of so-called pathogenic viruses, viruses that cause disease. Not once has anything like this uniform particle been found in any fluid, snot, lung fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, blood, toenail juice, nothing from anybody who's sick. Now, if you don't believe that, let me tell you the people who agree with me on that, right? So I, in a way, would hope, why should I believe this guy? Just because I've been looking at the medical literature for 30 years trying to find such a case. There isn't one. Here are the people who have been asked, can you show me a picture of the SARS-CoV-2 virus? Number one, it's now up to 84 health departments of different countries. The Australian Health Ministry, the CDC, the NIH, Canada, 84 different governmental organizations have been asked under the Freedom of Information request, do you have a single paper showing the isolation of any SARS-CoV-2, that's the name of the virus. COVID is the name of the illness, so-called illness. And they all reply no. Not one case. Here is what in June 2020 the CDC says on page 39 on their COVID manual, quote, no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 nCoV are currently available. As of June 2020, everything that's a thing, like there's 6 chairs, can be counted. Feelings, thoughts, conceptions cannot be counted. Things like viruses can be counted. They have no example of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So this was, I'll tell you in a minute. Can you hear it? Read this. Can we stop it? So Montaigne was asked, did you ever find, he was the guy who got the Nobel Prize for discovering HIV, right? And what happens when you kill the cells is you get cellular debris, all these different size particles. And he says, the guy who did his electron microscopy, we never found a virus. All we found was cellular debris. And that's what Montaigne said. And then, just to finish, you will see, people will show you pictures of the virus, right? You've all seen it. And that comes from the breakdown of the kidney cells in the culture. Never, never, never from a sick person. Now, I don't mean this thing. This was made by the graphics art department of Sussex University sometime in 2019 to scare the shit out of everybody. I don't mean this one. This is another picture that they made. I mean, because if you believe those are proof of the virus, then you obviously believe that's proof, or that is proof that unicorns. I mean this guy. You've all seen that? Proof. And that tells you you have identified the virus. There's another one. What about all these other things over there? So this paper, I won't go into it, says, this was by kidney specialists saying, we see these exact same particles from back from 1990s in kidney biopsies. They have nothing to do with a SARS-CoV-2. These are viral-like inclusions that were found in all 15 cases. They are mimickers of SARS-CoV-2. And, the CDC knew about them in 2003. And we even know what the so-called spike protein, those little dots, turn out to be a protein called clathrin, and they are not have anything to do with any new virus. The final thing, this was a CDC paper. It turns out that when you grow this virus, so-called grow the virus on different cells, you get radically different composition of the virus. How can that be? If you grow chickens with one food and then you put them in different food, you don't get horses in one and chickens in the other. The only explanation for why the protein composition of SARS-CoV-2 is completely different depending on what you grow it in is this is cellular debris. It's just garbage coming from the breakdown of the cells. And I will finish with one thing. This is exactly like an analogy that you may have heard. It's like you go around your neighborhood and you see little bits of paper and you think the paper little bits of paper, and then you come back in a week, and the lawn is filled with little bits of paper. And you say, I know what happened. The paper inoculated it inside to the house. It took over the machinery of the house, had its way with the house, reproduced itself, budded out from the house, blew up the house, scattered paper all over the lawn, and that's why we find it here. And some little boy on a bicycle comes by and says, Tom, somebody came by with dynamite and blew up this house. That's what happened. We blew up the house by starving it and poisoning it, and all that is just debris coming out of the cells, and from now on, you will not believe this nonsense ever again. Thank you. And